Okay, hello everyone. Is everyone there? Just say hello in the chat box so we know it's working. Going on. I see 6 people are actually online, so I'm not seeing anyone. Oh, there you go. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. Everyone, my name is Kate Weaver. I'm the Associate Dean for Students here at the LBJ School of Public Affairs, where I'm also an Associate Professor. And I just wanted to convene this quick webinar for prospective PhD students to talk about the program and answer any of your questions. As most of you might know, our PhD program is small and quite prestigious. We accept around 7 to 8 students per year, so the entering cohort is quite small. The program itself is really distinguished by its focus on public policy theory, as well as the methodologies used for the interdisciplinary study of public affairs. So the idea is that we have a very flexible program that is confined to 30 credit hours and involves students taking core classes during their first and their second years, and then moving very quickly into the research and writing stage. So in the first year, you take core classes around public policy theory and methods, and you get ready for your August comprehensive exams right away. You take exams in theory in August, and then in December of your second year, you take your comprehensive exams in methodology. You also take advanced methods courses focused around research design that allow you to pick the most bespoke methods for your particular dissertation topic. We also assign you a PhD mentor your first year as you come in. You have someone who is working in your area of policy interest who can help mentor you on your first year in grad school, help you navigate through course choices, and figure out how to constitute a dissertation committee and choose a topic, tackle the dissertation proposal, and so forth. So it's a very close mentoring process. Around here at the LBJ School, we have very small faculty to student ratio. And so that means in the PhD program, you have a lot of access to our professors to go to ask for their research advice and other professional development. So you take your comprehensive exams. You also do a qualifying paper in your second year. This is designed to get you publishing very early in your career, which is a very important thing right now on the academic and the practitioner market. And then in your second and the beginning of your third year, you work on your proposal and you defend that proposal before advancing to dissertation status. Overall, you take 30 credit hours before graduation. Many of those credit hours can be at the dissertation writing stage. But we also encourage our students to take courses all across UT's campus, which means you can take full advantage of the expertise we have in other departments. You will also have an external member of your committee who will be elsewhere on the UT campus or even outside of UT itself. Many of our students, for example, have professors at international universities that serve on their committees. So with that in mind, I'm going to open it wide for any questions that you might have about our program. Of course, we have more degree information online as well. So if you can use the chat box, I can go ahead and type in your questions, and I'll be happy to answer anything.
While we wait for some questions to trickle in, why don't, if you can, talk a little bit about what career outcomes look like for the PhD program?
Great. Okay. So Amy, who is hiding from the camera, has asked one of the frequently asked questions. What are some of the career outcomes we have for our PhD students? So generally speaking, it's split pretty evenly between academic and policy placements. So on the academic side, students will often go into either postdoctoral programs or assistant professor tenure track positions. We've had several within the United States go to, for example, Michigan State University. I'm not going to forget all of these. North Carolina State, University of Nevada in Reno, and Penn State was another place. On the more policy practitioner side, we've had students go into think tanks, into government agencies, into international organizations. Our graduates, for example, over their careers have become senior fellows of the Brookings Institution, World Resources Institute, the UN. Actually, the head of the UN Human Development Report this year is an LBJ Ph.D. And of course, we have international students as well. Sometimes they stay in the U.S. to work. Often they will return to their home countries, either into academia, government, or policy positions. So we have an excellent placement record, and we work with students one-on-one to determine the right trajectory for their careers. So you can really choose between the academic path and more of a policy or practitioner path according to your interests and long-term goals.
Okay, great. Why don't you expand a little bit on the faculty mentor match process?
Okay.
Do you recommend
faculty
students indicate somebody of interest on their application, all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. So I should also mention that I chair the admissions committee, and so I'm very familiar with what we look for in your application, and that goes to the faculty mentoring match as well. So when we look at your applications, we're really looking at a whole host of different factors. GPA and GRE scores are two of the factors, but not the most important. What we're really interested in is what are your policy interests? Why do you want to get your PhD in policy? Why do you want to get your PhD at the LBJ school? And why in policy as opposed to any other disciplinary field? So if you can answer those questions convincingly, you've gotten yourself halfway there. What we also like to see is that you've done your homework on the program, which just means that you thought about who you want to work with. So as distinct from master's programs where you might be just showing your fit with a global policy or a public policy degree, in the PhD program, we want to see a match with a particular professor or set of professors and their own research and teaching areas. So this is about the PhD mentoring process. It's to actually match you with faculty who are going to have the expertise to mentor you in your specific area of research. So it'd be great, for example, if you wanted to work on global development in my field, is to do research on my publications and to mention how your own interests fit with mine and align. So the idea is that you might be brought into a professor's research or that your research would be close enough that I could feel comfortable advising you through the dissertation process. And that's important because when we're at the selection admission stage, we're looking for those matches. And it might be that you're a fantastic candidate, but in fact, we've got no one for you to actually work closely with at the LBJ school. And that becomes an issue of being fair to you all. And we're unlikely to admit someone that we can't match effectively with a faculty member. So it really helps if you actually do some of that work in your application, identify who you might want to work with and why. Even better if you reach out to that faculty member and have a conversation and mention that in your application. In terms of finishing out what we look for in the application, I would also emphasize that we do look at the writing samples quite carefully. We want to know what your quality of writing and analytical skills actually are. And so we read those in quite some depth to determine if you're really ready for a PhD. And the bar is quite high in terms of writing quality. We also want to see in your statement of purpose that you might have a bit of an idea of what you want to do your PhD dissertation research on. Now, it doesn't mean you're beholden in any way to that particular topic. It's just what we want to be able to see that you're able of refining, presenting a clear research question that is fitting to a dissertation scope. So those are the main things we look at, in addition to, of course, your letters of recommendation and all of those nasty GRE and GPA scores. You're a particularly quiet group, so you should really use the chat box to ask me questions, or I'll just keep prattling on and on and on. Trying to think of what some other frequently asked questions might be.
Let's see. We can. Why don't we talk a little bit about the core curriculum? Maybe some classes they've taken there for the colloquium, things like that.
Right. So, well, let me say that you can see what our core classes are online. The public theory or public policy theory and the methodology courses. What's characteristic about those is in the methodology sequence, you do have a heavy load of quantitative methods training. As well as qualitative methods. But when you apply that in your research design course, the idea is being able to be versed enough in each different methodology to be able to choose the most appropriate methodology for your research question. It may be that you go fully quantitative, or that you go for fully qualitative, or you use mixed methods. The idea is that you know what the tools are in your tool set. So we have no dictate in terms of what methodology you have to use to prove that you're competent in public policy. We have a really unique extra course in our curriculum called the PhD Colloquium. It's a one-credit class that you continuously enroll in every semester. And you participate every Thursday in an hour-and-a-half session in which scholars are coming to present their research. We might be doing professional development, such as a session on how to write grant applications, or how to conduct peer reviews of articles, how to structure a job talk, how to actually write a research proposal. So we have a combination of the observation of advanced scholars in action with an opportunity for you to give feedback and engage in the critical analytical process, and then the more professional development, which helps you figure out how you situate your research within a discipline or a career path, and how you navigate that process to build the steps towards post-graduation success.
Let's see. We have just some other kind of hot topic items that you can talk about. Maybe some funding opportunity questions that we get also.
Okay.
And it looks like we have another question as
From
well.
Lauren.
Yes.
Hi, Lauren. I recognize your name. And Lauren asked to say something about what the admissions committee would like to see in the statement of purpose versus the proposed program of study. Yes, the statement of purpose is much more about who you are, why you want to pursue a PhD in policy, what the fit is with the LBJ school. The program of study is what do you want to do your research on. So it's really about maybe some proposed dissertation topics or a broad area of study, such as if you're interested in international development, what area of development? Do you have a regional specialization? Do you have a sectoral one, such as gender empowerment or governance and anti-corruption? Do you have a specific research question in mind? Why are you interested in it? So the first is about general fit, and the second is about gauging your level of focus and ability to define and articulate a clear research question. I hope that answers your question, Lauren. Now, on Amy's excellent question about funding opportunities, the nice thing about our PhD program is that we don't admit you unless we know you have full funding for at least 4 years. And we often have two types of students. We have some that are self-funded, but these are students who often are coming in on, let's say, active duty military deployment, and the military is paying the full bill of their graduate school. That's why we kind of put them into a separate category. For everyone else, we consider you during the application process for full scholarship for 4 years funding. And it comes in the form of 2 years on a full fellowship with no work, and 2 years where you might be serving as a graduate teaching assistant or a graduate research assistant. The combined package would cover your tuition, health fees, and give you a living stipend. So the idea is that 4 years is maybe not the total amount of time it might take you to finish your dissertation, but it will get you 80 to 90% there. And then also in your more advanced years, we work with you to help find further funding for your dissertation research. And that might be in the way of research grants, or it can be further graduate research positions on campus, integration to faculty research programs, and so forth. But it's very different from master's degrees, where fellowship dollars can be few and far between. In PhD programs, you really should only go for PhD programs when they offer you a full funding package.
Okay. Why don't we talk a little bit about the graduate advisor of the program and his role in the
Great question, yeah. So every degree program at the LBJ school has a designated graduate advisor, and this is a faculty member who works directly with students in that program. So in the PhD program, we have Dr. Chandler Stolp. He has been PhD graduate advisor off and on for years. And what he does is he's the point person for all students on general academic advising and degree program requirements. So he's the person you go to if you're asking about what methods course do I need to take to satisfy the requirement. What is the paperwork I need to fill out to apply for professional development funds? Professor Stolp works directly with our wonderful graduate coordinators, including Amy, whose voice you're hearing online. And those graduate coordinators work with you on the bureaucratic logistics of fulfilling all those things. So think of it as sort of the academic advisor is the one thinking through your strategy for graduation. And the graduate coordinators are the support network behind the scenes, making sure that all the bureaucratic T's get crossed and I's get dotted. It's a great combination. In addition, you have your faculty mentor, and so the graduate advisor is different from your faculty mentor. The graduate advisor is going to be the one that's generally knowledgeable about all your degree requirements. Your faculty mentor is going to be the person that works directly with you on your specific research interests and your dissertation topic. So many different ways to cultivate a very close relationship with faculty members.
Another question.
Yeah, Meredith. Meredith asked, do you recommend reaching out to the faculty members you might be interested in working with before applying to the program? They absolutely do that, and that's usually key to finding a great match. And those faculty members will often weigh in on admissions decisions. So they'll send me a little note saying, hey, I talked to Meredith. We really hit it off. I really am interested in her research. And they'll put in sort of a recommendation of sorts. That counts for a lot because one of the things we look for is there a match with a faculty member who would be able to advise the student's research? And so if that's already been done, that is a clear signal that at least we don't have to worry about fit. And so that gets us most of the way there. It also shows that you're very serious about your application to the LBJ school. You've thought about how you fit into the culture, the faculty, the student cohort, and you've already done your homework on that. So that gives us a lot more confidence that you're serious about the application as opposed to submitting a generic application across all grad schools. And sometimes we even see students forget to replace and copy in institutional names. Don't make that mistake.
Kate, could you talk a little bit about maybe the transition to living in Austin, maybe for out-of-state or international students?
Yeah, I don't know how many of you are from out-of-state or international students. Austin's a great place to live. We're finally getting some cooler weather, I have to say. We had an extraordinarily long summer. But Austin is this vibrant metropolitan area where the larger urban area is about 2 million people now and growing quite rapidly. Most students live closer to campus where we have a great public transportation system, free buses for registered students. The cost of living is luckily still less than DC, although it is going up. But by and large, we're much cheaper than some of the coastal cities like San Francisco or New York or DC, Boston, and so forth, with fantastic music and food scene. In fact, the one key problem with grad school, LBJ school, is you probably will gain weight because the food is just so good. But it's a wonderful atmosphere because, quite honestly, it can be very stressful to complete a PhD. You're here for 3 to 5 years at a minimum. You're in a scenario where you're working on your own on a really daunting project. So having a place to live that is very comfortable, an environment where you can get out and exercise. If you have families, this is a great place to raise a family. You can even sometimes afford to buy a home in the suburbs. So Austin is a really great place because that environment in which you're learning is so critical to your success. So Laura's also asking about professional development funds, and there is a set amount per year per student. It's larger than what master's students get. PhD students have a couple of different sources of funds. We have internal funds to the Barbara Jordan account, which is an endowment, and then there's money available for the graduate school at the University of Texas. And I believe combined, that's $1,600 per year. I really hope I'm right about that.
Sounds right.
Sounds right? Okay. Oh, I'm sure I'm going to call if I'm wrong. But what happens is students apply. So, for example, if you wanted to travel for field work, you can apply for professional development funds. If you want to apply to go present at a conference, you can apply for those funds. And it's really a scenario of first come, first served. until the money runs out, but more or less everyone gets their funding needs satisfied up to that amount. We also work with students to find other funds for their research. So if you're doing longer term field research, for example, I just met with I have 3 PhD students I'm currently advising, and we met for 2 hours a day to talk about where you find grant opportunities, how you apply for those grants, what are some of the tricks of the trade in writing a successful grant application. And they're at all stages, everything from pre-dissertation field work to getting ready to apply to postdocs. So your faculty member will also work with you. So this is above and beyond what you would get in your 4-year funding package, and then the opportunities through graduate research assistantships that will pop up all over campus.
Could you talk a little bit about the 5th class?
The 5th class, as we call it. It's not a real class, don't worry. And actually for PhD students, it'd be more like the 4th class, because your average load is 3 classes per semester. But it's what we colloquially call the 5th class, which is actually all the extracurricular activities and professional development opportunities you have here at the LBJ school that complement what you're learning in the classroom. So these could be involvement in student groups, student government, extra research centers, and their professional development events. We have many, many things going on with our amazing professional development director and our career resources team. So everything from resume writing workshops to case challenges for consulting firms. So there are all these things that you do above and beyond what you're actually doing in the classroom and on your formal assignments that contribute to your broader education. Many of those things will also be quite social in nature, so it's a good way to blow off steam while you're in the midst of your very stressful degree.
Do you have any sort of maybe insight to provide on resources available across campus for PhD students, maybe some writing workshops, offices?
Yeah. It's a really good question. The university is actually really ramping up its resources for graduate students on several fronts. I don't mean to scare you, but one of those fronts is mental health services. That's across the board of just making sure that all students have their well-being is cared for while you're here at school. But I'm also actually involved in the committee right now on graduate student mentoring. And it's a program that's designed to identify best practices in graduate student mentoring across campus and both share those practices and offer training sessions to faculty. So the school itself as a whole is thinking very carefully about not just what advising or research supervision means, but actually how we mentor you individually to make sure you're getting personal development. So that's great. The Writing Center on UT campus also offers this wonderful writing workshop. I think it's called Shut Up and Write. And it's where you can actually register and go to a designated space and write for the entire day. And then provide snacks and sort of a structured atmosphere. And it's really actually very, very effective for getting you focused on your work. Then we have other resources. The library offers all kinds of courses around how to do research using library resources. They also offer things on like how to do proper citations, how to use refined to clean data. The UC Statistics Department offers free assistance in statistical analysis. So you can actually go and have them help you run different kinds of analyses, or they'll help you with data collection design. And that's an incredible resource for our students as well. There's also a grant and foundation center that will help you identify funding opportunities. So Lauren also asked, what are the timeline for admissions decisions do you review on a rolling basis? We do not review on a rolling basis for PhD, so we do need really all of your applications in by December 15th. The PhD committee moves very quickly, and that's so that you can get a decision with your funding package early enough that you have full information before you're forced to make decisions between schools. Last year, we got these decisions out around mid-February.
Sorry, just to clarify, the PhD deadline is December 1st.
Oh, December 1st. My apologies.
And then I guess some final thoughts, if you have any sort of advice for students filling out the application or anything like that.
Now, the advice on application is really that statement of purpose matters so much in your program of study. So really put the emphasis there. Another piece of advice is if you're worried about any aspect of your application, like maybe that GRE score just wasn't what you wanted it to be, or your GPA from undergrad, it may have been 10 years ago, but it was lower than what you expect our average to be. Don't try to hide the fact. Just address it straight out in your statement of purpose. Say, I've been out of school for 10 years. My life has dramatically changed. I'm not a reflection of the grades I received as a freshman in college. We all get that. Also, some people are not great at standardized tests. We get that as well. It might be that you've been out of school so long you forgot all your math, so you didn't do quite as well on that GRE quant. We take all of that into consideration. If things are not as you would like on something like the GRE quant, you can also indicate that what you're going to do to prepare yourself to be ready for PhD level work at LBJ. And it may be that you do an online statistics course or a course in a community college to brush up on some of these things. If you tell us what you're doing in the next 9 months to be the most ready you can be at the LBJ school, you're going to mitigate all of our concerns about this random score on a GRE. So don't let it deter you from applying, and don't try to hide it, because we will look at those. And if you don't address it, we'll make our own inferences. And it's better that you just tell us what it means rather than us guessing what it means. Hope that helped, Lauren.
Any last starting thoughts before we call it a webinar?
I would say that one of the things you need to know about yourself when you're making a decision to do a PhD program is you really need to have the fire and the guts to do so. That there is this burning intellectual curiosity, that there's something that you so badly want to research and answer, that you want to live in a world of ideas. Because no one enters upon a PhD program lightly. It's not for the faint of heart. And it's good that you know yourself well and be able to convey why you're committed to spending the next 4 or 5 years of your life pursuing the answers to certain questions. So if you can convey your passion in a statement of purpose, it goes a long way in convincing us that a PhD program is right for you and that you as a PhD student are right for us. Also, don't be afraid to reach out for help on your application. If you stumble, if you just don't know if you're hitting the right notes, you can share part of that or discuss some of this with any member of the faculty.
All right, I'm just going to add your contact information in the chat right here, so students have it. Oh, we have one more question.
From Jeffrey. So I noticed how this is the PhD webinar. Oh, yes. Many things about the statement of purpose. If you're applying for the master's program and you inadvertently got in this webinar, many of the same things count in the statement of purpose. The PhD program has a program of study proposal in addition to the statement of purpose. The master's application only has a statement of purpose, so slightly different.
All right, well, I've just put your contact information in the link if students would like to reach out to you directly. I will also put our email address in there as well if you have any other questions.
And please do reach out. I'd be very happy also to connect you with current or former students in the PhD program who can share their experience directly with you.
All right.
All right, thanks all. Have a great evening. I look forward to reading your application.